we'll come to another thing, and another one of the things that you mentioned, which becomes super crucial in an industry like this, which is designing and packaging, right? And a lot of, I think, psychological thought needs to go behind it and all of that. So, in this journey of deciding what an ideal design is, or coming to where it's at right now, what were some mistakes? What are some learnings that you had that you'd like to share? First is on the designing aspect and design and how sort of designing. Then this is strictly talking about the product itself, and another one is approaching the packaging and what are some learnings from that. So first, let's talk about like the designs.
Got it. So, with respect to product development, initially, so what happens in a small business is you don't necessarily have access to the best of ingredients initially only,
Mm,
because a lot of vendors out there work on a heavy minimum order quantity.
mm,
And from the beginning, you can't really, invest in such massive quantities unless you see some actual returns that, okay, you are getting some customer base.
mm,
So I would say we change our recipe of the chewing gum every week, right?
mm,
Like we constantly better it. So there has to be a leeway for change when you're starting off. And again, going back to the perfection wala spot, you can start your product, you can start your journey at 80 and slowly take it to 100, right?
mm,
You don't necessarily need to start at 100. When you start at 80, you can constantly iterate, and that's the beauty of a small company, that's the beauty of being a startup, where you can take your certain amount of time to master the product. So we constantly keep changing our product design. When I would say the product development in that matter, we constantly try to make changes in the recipe, make it softer, make it try to do a lot of changes to the product and see which batch is doing better, and try to understand from consumers, okay, if there's any issue or no.
mm,
Um so so that's with respect to, again, what I'd say as a line is be open for change, right? Like if people are giving you some feedback, try to iterate that into your, and keep that leeway open. And so what happens is, that's the thing we can do, because it's a in-house manufactured product. If it were a contract manufactured product, I would have to, fill the room up with chewing gum and then just think about selling the product.
mm,
Because we are making it on a daily basis, we can make those changes. So that's one learning, that okay, having an in-house production is good until a point where that okay, this is the recipe, this is perfect, and then go into a massive manufacturing setup.
mm,
And with respect to packaging, if you see, initially, we created a key line, or the packaging design was a very minimalist packaging, which was again very West influenced, where people understand minimalism. But
mm,
then, as we started selling those products, people did not really resonate with the packaging. It was too dull for people.
mm,
And India, as a consumer, in the Indian consumers are people who really want to show off, and talk about the good things that they ate. So the packaging was not looking at as fancy as the product was, right? So we had to kind of Indianize the packaging and make it a bit more fuller. And that's the second sort of packaging that we have now in the paper box. So
mm,
the first paper box that we had did not have any plastic lining on the inside. And the humidity was such that, humidity would go through the box and make the chewing gum soggy.
mm,
That we realized that, okay, maybe because we don't have a plastic layering on the inside, let's work on the paper box. So
mm,
while we were working on the paper box, we launched the tin box in between, so that we don't really take a hit on our chewing gum, on our sales, and the tin boxes could keep fulfilling wherever required. And we got to a point where the tins were not scalable anymore, because it's a very tedious process to pack the tins, and the tin prices are very fluctuating. We moved back to the paper box with a plastic lining on the inside.
mm.
And this was a major change, because we've always wanted to be 100% plastic free product, right?
Yeah.
But in this case, we had to have a small layer of plastic on the inside, because without it, the product would not sell, right?
Mm,
So there are again certain gut feeling, gut calls that you got to take as a founder, that okay, if I am able to, in our case, say for example, if I'm selling chewing gums, um, 21 grams of chewing gum go in a paper box, right? So how I look at it is, I am replacing 21 grams of plastic chewing gums with my chewing gum, right?
mm,
So I have already saved 21 grams of plastic from going into the landfill. And if I'm doing that at the expense of using 0.3 grams of plastic on my packaging, I'm still square. I'm still a plastic positive company, right? So there are obviously there will be haters for it. People be like, okay, you're selling a plastic-free chewing gum, but your packaging has plastic in it. Again, is it a significant number of people that are thinking that way? Is it 100% of all your consumers? If it's just three or four, neglected. Your product, at the end of the day, for you to survive, for you to still create impact, your business has to be running. And you need to take calls that are going to let your business keep running and not your consumers, not always your consumers happy.